The real estate market is shifting, but what does that mean for you as a buyer or seller? What it means is that you both need to get into action right now, because by waiting as a buyer, you're giving up equity, price, and interest. As a seller, you are losing leverage by the day. Newsflash, we're in a recession, but we've been in one for months. And as a refresher, a recession is merely when you have 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. You may remember that our last recession was just a few years ago, but everybody remembers the Great Recession of 2008. Here's why this is different this time. This is a shift. It is not a crash. And I'm willing to bet that nobody has taken the time to sit with you and explain what all of this really means. So I want to start with just some quick facts and data from Florida Realtors, comparing this time now to this time last year. And then I'm going to break down what each of those data points mean. Let's start by looking at closed sales. At this time of 2021, we were looking at 474 closed sales for that month. Now we're at 409, which is a drop of 13.7%. But our average sales price has actually gone up. In 2021, the average sales price in our area was $293,122. Now, that average price is $340,345. That is a 16.1% increase in price year over year. I also want to look at median time to contract, which is day 1, sign goes in the ground, property hits the MLS, to whatever day the property is pending and under contract. In 2021, that average was 7 days. In 2022, it's now 9 days, which is a 28.6% increase. And then my fourth data point is new pending sales. So how many new homes have gone under contract this month versus this month last year? 2021, 393 houses went under contract. In 2022, it was 371, which is a dip of 5.6%. And finally, I want to talk about inventory. Our month supply of inventory in 2021 was 1.6. Now it's 1.9, an increase of 18.8%. That's a lot of numbers, that's a lot of stats, but now that I've given you the hard numbers, I want to break down what they mean so you can make an educated decision. So the whole point of this update is to let you know, as buyers and sellers, 2 things can be true at once. It can be true that right now is a really good time to sell your house. It can also be true that right now is a really good time to buy. Let's talk about inventory. For a seller, inventory means everything. We've seen historically low inventory, which is what was driving the absolute insanity of the last 2 years. This time last year, we had just under 2 months of inventory. Now we have just over 2 months of inventory. This is why this is not a massive crash. If a crash was coming, we would need literally everybody to decide to list their house right now. We're still under 4 months of inventory. Until we hit 4 to 6 months, we're still gonna be in a seller's market. But if you're sitting on a property that you wanna get sold and you're waiting for the right time, every little bit that inventory ticks up, you lose more of your leverage because buyers have more options. Now, on the flip side, as a buyer, what you may have noticed is you get a little bit more breathing room. It's still a seller's market, so you can't necessarily sit on a property for a month, but most houses are not going under contract in their first weekend anymore. So it does give you a little bit of time to think and maybe even negotiate. What I want to harp on is that this is still a really strong market. We've just been super spoiled for the last 24 months. So as we look at the average sales price, you can see that there's been a big leap year over year, and we've seen some historical leaps that are unprecedented. What I want you to remember is normal appreciation is 2 to 3%. Last year to this year, we saw 16.1. That is massive, but it's not sustainable. In years past, we saw higher percentages than that, but it's working its way down. So for those of you who are buying and think, I'm gonna wait for prices to drop, I wanna talk to you. Even if appreciation dropped by half, and went to 8%. That's still well above the normal range. And the biggest point is that it's still appreciation. Unless we go negative, you're not getting a deal, and inventory is nowhere near the place it needs to be for that to happen. And for you sellers, you can see that price appreciation and that gain, which is going to be great for your bottom line, but you've got to remember the competition of it. You're in a much better position when you're the only house on the block for sale than if you're competing against 3 other neighbors. So keep an eye on that inventory because that's going to affect your leverage. Now let's talk median time to contract. We've gone from 7 days to 9 days. What I want to keep harping on is these stats are sort of creeping up. We didn't go from 7 days to 90 days because that would tell us something very different. But what this data is telling us is, again, the market is correcting. And we need it to. We could not sustain what was happening in 2020 and 2021. The average house now takes more than a week to sell. Now keep in mind it's an average. A house might still sell in 2 to 3 days, or it might take a month. But as a seller, you've got to manage your expectations. You're probably not going to get a plethora of offers in 2 days. You're going to have to sit on the market for a week or 2, maybe even 3. For buyers, that kind of does feel a bit nice. You get to see more than one house. You get to think about it overnight instead of having your realtor write an offer on the hood of their car. Things have returned to normal. However, I don't think it's any excuse to be sitting on the fence because you're just going to price yourself out. And our new pending sales are down, which you want to look at the fact that inventory is going up, but pending sales are going down. So that does show a slight shift in our market. Because of rising interest rates, some buyers have been priced out. If they were right on the cusp of being able to make that payment at 3% and now we're at 5%, they can no longer afford the same house. Some buyers are just plain tired and gave up. And I'm talking to you because now is the time to get back in the game and not give up, because this time next year, you're going to be seeing those same increases. And for the sellers, demand is decreasing slightly. We're still in a strong seller's market, but that is eventually going to flip. It's going to take a long time because inventory is the main issue here. New construction is still slow. A lot of builders aren't even trying to build new stuff. They're just trying to keep up with the orders they already have. So this inventory shift is going to take a while, which is why I think it's right to capitalize now on selling your home. That's a lot of data. And it's really confusing and it can feel super overwhelming. And my hope is that this is going to bring a little bit of clarity and some education to your position. So it's a good time to buy and it's a good time to sell. How can it be possible that 2 things can be true at once? But that's exactly what the data is pointing to. Prices are going up, interest rates are rising, and quite frankly, as a buyer, if you had bought last year, look at how much equity you would have gained going from an average price of $293 to $340. You're giving up more than just the average interest rate or price. You're giving up generational wealth that you could build by buying a house now. And as inventory has climbed a bit, it does give you some breathing room, but I would still stress that it's time to act. And as a seller, prices are still good, though it has cooled a little bit. And the cooling of that doesn't mean prices have plummeted. It means they're not appreciating as fast, but there's still a positive increase in price. But as inventory slowly inches up, your leverage is decreasing by the day. So yes, 2 things can be true at once. Buying and selling are both really great ideas right now. And it's really my hope that this has provided a little bit of clarity, or at the very least has prompted you to start asking some questions. Because if you're a seller waiting for those prices to peak, I think you missed out. And if you're a buyer waiting for those prices to crash, you're going to be waiting a long time and your rent is not getting any cheaper. Use this data as power to help you make an informed decision so that you don't regret it another year down the road. If you're watching this wishing you had a time machine to go back, or feeling like perhaps you missed out on the market, be sure to check out the video that I did on how the real estate market has shifted. I'm Lindsey Johnson, your resource for all things real estate. See you next time.